To make it a little safer, I'm gonna lower the window before I even start, just so the window is in the door when we take the door off. We need to disconnect the wiring harness that goes to the inside, so we're gonna take off these panels. Use a trim tool, take this panel off, get underneath here. And slide it out. There's clips that hold that down. And now take this panel out, just grab it, and there's a pin going in like that. There's also a pin down here. The back of these pins look like this, or clips, and it just slides out like that. Pull this cover off right here, and there's wires that come up, and you disconnect this connector right here, just like that, and disconnect this wire. This is attached to the other wiring harness that you want. You can use a pair of pliers, just squeeze this. You could use needle nose. Just pop that out. Just like that, and slide the harness down. Slide this cover back, just use a trim tool. Just move the rubber grommet, rubber housing, and then you can slide the rest of the wiring harness through. And this big connector is not going to fit, so you have to take this cage off. Just pop that out, 2 clips, and it's fine. I'm going to take this door check bolt out, use a 10mm socket, and then we're going to take these bolts out at the hinges. Those are also a 10mm. Normally what I would do is use a floor jack and a piece of wood and get underneath the door panel to support it, raise it up so that I can pull it off. But because this is an Avalanche and it has this cladding, and I don't want to crack that taking it off, I'm just going to use 2 people to help lift this up and get it off the car. Now we're just going to grab the door and raise it up and slide it out. There we go. Just so I don't ruin the fender or the cladding right here, I am just going to put a little bit of masking tape on the edge. On the bottom of these door pins, they are mushroomed out a little bit, so you have to cut that off. So use some type of a grinder or a cutoff wheel, cut the bottom of those off. Just be careful not to ruin the paint on the fender. Also be aware of your sparks. Make sure they're not going towards the interior of the car or cover up the interior of the car. Just get a small punch and a hammer. There's a little washer underneath here. Just use a screwdriver or a punch or a chisel. There we go. Pop that off, and that'll slide right out. Then you have to do the same with the top one and these bottom 2. Here's a trick. Just take a socket and an extension. Be careful with the fender. Just pry it around. There we go. Pop that out. Take that bracket off. Here's a piece of the bushing. Slide that out. If you have to, you can hammer it out. This one just fell out. And the bottom one as well. Take the bottom bushing out. Just use a chisel or a screwdriver. There we go. Take the new bushings and just put them in position. Might have to tap them down a little bit. one's okay. That's good. Take this bracket, slide it in position. Make sure this lower part goes in front of where the hinge is. Otherwise, if you install it like that, it's not going to work. So have it installed like this. It's going to swivel like that. If you look at the two pins, they are different. You're going to have 4 pins total, but for one hinge, you're going to have this area right here that looks like that, and then this one is like that. So that needs to secure itself into the bracket right there, same like that. So this one's going to go on top, this lower one's going to go on the bottom. So before I put these in, I just want to take a little grease. Just put a little grease on there. This is preference, you don't have to do this. Might make it last a little longer. And then that one goes on top. This one goes on the bottom. And you can just tap them in place. Looks like it's all the way down. So make sure that looks like that. And then on the bottom one, on the bottom pin for the hinge, you're going to use a washer and then this little E-clip. Sometimes these E-clips are difficult to install. And the E-clip, you can use a hammer and just tap it in. Get it started. And there we go, that's in. Do the same with the top one. There's no washer on the top one though, just the E-clip. So that's installed, that should look like that, and do the same on the bottom. Now reinstall the door the way it came off, line the pins up. Oh, it's gonna fall. There we go. And install these bolts. Get them all started first. And even the door check. And tighten these down. And just double check, snug them up. And take the wiring harness and feed it back through. And put this bracket back into the rubber grommet. And slide the bracket and lock it in place. Slide the wiring back up the way it came out. Reconnect this and connect the connector. Install the trim pieces. And the lower trim piece. It's good. And the fuse box cover.